Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome back to the 53206 cast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meg.
And Meg.
Yeah.
This is a podcast.
It is.
Meg, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We were...
Longer than 20 years ago.
Well, yeah. But
Okay.
I'm specifically thinking about 20 years ago.
Okay. All right. Great.
We were newly married.
We were. Okay.
We were newly
yes.
married, and we were
Okay.
living in an apartment.
We were. It was great.
It was a nice apartment.
What was the full belly deli?
Yeah.
The grocery
Kappa's.
store?
Yep.
Yeah. That was
right
good.
by a little grocery store.
That was great.
Nice little one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
That was that stretch right before we got married. That was the only time that I've ever lived by myself. It was like 3 weeks. It was great.
I could see you really thriving living by yourself.
Yeah.
Being by yourself, just doing things by yourself.
It was great.
Yeah.
Just coming and going.
Yeah.
Nobody to
Yeah.
nobody to tell me what to do. Probably didn't eat very much.
You probably never ate. I would. Yeah.
I'm surprised I survived those 3 weeks. But
3 weeks. Yeah.
But 20 years ago, pretty much right now, we were down in Jackson, Mississippi.
We were.
And that was, I don't remember. I really would have to think about the number of times that we went to Jackson, Mississippi. It was at least 3.
I was going to say,
maybe
at least
4.
3. Yeah.
A couple, many.
Yeah.
I don't know if 3 is many, but more than 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Multiple times. Went down to Jackson, Mississippi over spring break. And we're gearing up this week. We're gearing up to gear down. Is that
gearing
what you
up
say?
to gear down? Yeah, for spring break. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for spring break, and spring break this year we're not going to Jackson. We're just going. But 20 years ago we were going to Jackson, Mississippi, and so that year I think we probably went with a group of. Well, I'm fairly certain that 20 years ago there was 2 trips for a total of about 40 to 45.
Yeah.
20, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds going down to Jackson, Mississippi to
caravanning down.
Caravan road trip. I do still to this day love.
It was good. Yeah.
A road trip.
Yeah, we had one of the girls that was with us. She was very artistic, so she designed these cool shirts.
Yeah.
I remember those. I feel like I
think I still have a shirt or 2.
That's so cool. So shout out to Allison last
year.
Yeah,
she's great.
She's great. Yeah.
She's good at drawing things.
Yeah, I think she just came out with a new book, honestly. Yeah. So I think it's about pancakes, which I'm like, this sounds great. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, she had that dog, that little tiny wiener dog that
Pickles.
would eat. Yeah. The dog could eat a whole pizza.
It was
and
indestructible.
Just be fine.
Yes, it was very.
Yeah, it got hit, I think, by a car or
it got
eaten by a bigger dog.
Mastiff. Yeah. It was fine.
That was fine. Yeah. But
R.I.P. Pickles, because it did eventually.
that would have been.
Man.
Yeah, it would be too long for the dog to stay alive.
Yeah.
But 20 years ago, down in Jackson, Mississippi, we and I want to say it was the trip that was 20 years ago. We met the guy that started the organization, Voice of Calvary, in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
A guy named John Perkins, and he passed away pretty recently.
Yeah, John Perkins was 95 years old and just passed away in Jackson, Mississippi. I just feel so fortunate that we were able to meet him because he had such a beautiful vision of, people coming into a neighborhood, people taking care of their house. Voice of Calvary Ministries would actually, I think it would give you a cheaper, do you remember like the actual, they would give you a cheaper house.
Yeah, it was, so they ran a bunch of different things, but the reason why we would go would be because that organization would take houses. Yeah. I don't know if they would buy them from the city of Jackson or how they really acquired them. But they would get the houses and then they would renovate them.
Yeah, and then they would sell them to the community members at at a lower rate, or at if you lived there for 10 years, you got you got money off, or it was something. It was a good deal.
I know that there are other we have Axe Housing in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Similar to an Axe Housing in Milwaukee.
Yeah,
and so he was. I don't know if he ran that specific faction of the organization,
I think it was within the vision of the organization. Yeah,
and I'm fine with tying some responsibility for that organization to him. I do want to kind of just give a little bit of background, and I don't know a ton about John Perkins, and I'm not a John Perkins historian by any means. But the one thing that I do want to say about him is that he was involved in the civil rights movement in Mississippi in the 1950s and 60s or 1960s, and the reason why I want to mention that is there are as I've kind of lived in the inner city for a while, you hear stories about some of these other community members that have made a large impact in the city of Milwaukee. Like Father Grappi is a person. And I love at some point, I'd really like if there was a YouTube that I could just watch to learn about about him.
Sure.
That'd be great. I would watch that.
There might be.
Oh, there probably is. Maybe I'll look at. Well, Meg, I was watching YouTubes one day and Balistreri, the restaurant Balistreri's. Well, he was like a mob boss. Okay, yeah. And I started watching it. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting. I think that's what happens when you get old is that you want to like learn about history. I've heard that.
Sure, yeah.
And so I'm not there yet. So I'm not like only just watching history things. I watch like people unbox Amazon pallets also. So it's not like I'm all high and mighty just watching historical videos on YouTube.
You're definitely not.
No, definitely not. But you hear about some of these people in the city of Milwaukee that have made a significant impact in civil rights or social justice. Yeah. And I think of John Perkins probably in that same light in Jackson that he had a significant contribution to the civil rights movement in that area and some of the work that was done really from that point up until when he passed away or kind of stopped working on those things. That he had a pretty significant impact in that area, and I want to bring that up because when you think about civil rights, you think about Martin Luther King Jr., which you should. That's a great person to think about. Yeah. But there are hundreds and thousands of other people that have also had an impact, and that continue to have an impact in those areas. And I think that there's I don't know. I talked to him one time.
Sure.
Talked to him one time. But when I talked to him, I did not get the sense that it took, and I don't know if we've ever actually really talked about this, Meg, but I didn't really get the sense that, he would consider himself to be anything particularly special or have like any set of special skills or abilities. He just had decided that he was going to dedicate his time, energy, and resources to advancing a cause that he believed in. And he did it, obviously he advanced the cause enough that a bunch of college kids from Milwaukee, 40 of them decided to spend their spring break gutting a house in Jackson, Mississippi, right? So, I kind of thinking about that and thinking about him and thinking about, impact that you can have. Meg, I don't know if this is a good time to segue. Did you want to add anything for me?
Well, I think one of the neat things that I feel like I got out of those trips to Jackson, Mississippi was just how many different, like how, we went to Jackson and then we came back to Milwaukee and we're like, there are so many similarities.
Oh, yes. Very similar.
And just how many, like, I have not been to a lot of inner cities in a lot of other places, but I imagine like a lot of inner cities, have a lot of the same problems and they're all very similar. And I loved how, and I think we're going to get to this, just how inner city structures they're such a knot. There's, entangled problem on entangled problem, and how John Perkins was able to fix some of those problems,
right.
Some of those problems, specifically housing, specifically, communities coming to a specific community and all gathering together to help out. And, how we need people, to tackle all of these individual problems and just how beautiful that is that he was able to come and solve a few of these problems in Jackson, Mississippi is just, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I think that I took, and I think when you meet somebody that because I was aware of him on the periphery. Like when we would go there, I was familiar with this individual, as a human being and some of the things that he had done. And I appreciated that, they had been doing that same thing for a while, at that point, probably 20 years. And I don't know that, I haven't really even done any research to see if you can still take a trip down to Voice of Calvary and do that work, similar work now. But I would assume, in some form or fashion that's still in existence. I think, Meg, one of the things that I really appreciated was that, that was a lane that he decided he was going to be a part of or help to funnel resources to. And that they kind of just stuck to that lane. And I'm thinking a little bit about this meeting that you went to last week about food insecurity, food scarcity.
Food scarcity. Thank you.
Food scarcity. Okay. And I know that you like going to things. It's been actually a point of contention because you just keep going to things
true.
over and over again.
Yes.
But it's fine. I like that you like to go to things.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with that. You like to go to things.
Well, okay. Keep going.
It's just nice. It would be nice to see you at some point during the week.
Yeah.
But I also understand. Okay, yeah, you want to get out there. You want to see what's going on, and I like that about you.
Yeah.
Where I wanted to go with this is when I'm thinking about. Okay, so on this podcast we talk a lot about poverty, the effects of poverty, and then we throw out some thoughts about, well, how could we maybe try to mitigate some of those effects and move towards a society that has less poverty in it, right?
Yeah.
And so, it occurred to me, I think the night that you were out, or maybe it was a different night that you were out.
Sure.
It occurred to me that nobody has the answer on how to end poverty.
Yeah.
And I believe that to be true because we haven't ended it. Because I think that if somebody had the answer, that they would end it.
Yeah.
Or that we would really see some strong gains.
Yeah.
I know Elon is
Elon Musk?
Yeah, is
okay.
I don't know why I called him Elon.
Yeah,
Elon
Musk. Are you friends with him?
We're not friends, no. I mean, whatever. I'm sure he's a good hang.
I'm sure it's interesting.
I'm sure it's an interesting hang.
Very interesting.
But
just go to the moon with him or something.
Right.
Okay.
But I when I think about okay, so if I'm thinking about Mars.
Okay.
Going to Mars. This may be a stretch, but
sure.
He thinks that we can go to Mars.
Okay.
And so he's putting a ton of resources and energy to try to get people to go to Mars.
Okay, and live there?
I'm sure colonize. There's like a term for it.
Like WALL-E?
Maybe. Maybe just like WALL-E.
That was a great movie, by the way.
You know what the best part about WALL-E was? Is there was almost no talking.
No talking.
So you could, with the kids, sit and watch WALL-E.
Yeah.
You could probably work while WALL-E's on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's WALL-E's great.
Very quiet. Yes.
Maybe I'll after we're done, I'll go sit down and watch WALL-E.
Yeah.
But the reason why I don't think that anybody has a solution to poverty is because I don't see somebody making large gains towards ending poverty. Like I might say, I don't know if this is actually true, but I think that somebody could say, well, this person, Elon Musk, is making progress towards getting people to go to Mars.
Sure.
And whatever. You can debate. You can debate whatever.
Yeah.
That's not the point. It's not to debate our progress.
He definitely has enough money to do it. So he
right? And has a plan and is and is using and funneling those resources to try to make this plan come to fruition, right?
Yes.
So I don't even think that we're at a point where somebody with enough resources has a plan to end poverty.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's somebody that doesn't. I don't even think that there's somebody that has a plan and that could accumulate the resources.
Yeah.
I don't even know if somebody handed me $1 billion, what I would do.
Do you think that people care enough?
Well, I think that's part of it, but I also think there's not enough people that care about going to Mars. There's one guy and probably a small group of people around this one guy that cares enough about it.
Because he has so much money, he can have people care more.
Sure. Well, one of the things I do, I'm not an Elon Musk apologist, but I do think I think the way that he approaches solving problems is I think he does a great job at solving problems. Probably creates a lot of problems.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
But I can respect we're really gonna go all in and try to make this thing work.
And I think that's one of the things when we were talking about this podcast was, I think I told you I read this book and it was talking all about like how to solve poverty, or it was something like that. And it said you need to be married to the problem.
Sure.
And so if you don't care about the solutions, you're only caring about the problem, you can forego, okay, this solution doesn't work anymore.
Sure. Yeah. And so the reason why long-winded, this is not an Elon Musk podcast. This is a podcast on the inner city of Milwaukee and inner cities in general. But one thing, when I'm okay, so I'm coming to this conversation with the understanding that nobody really has a plan for ending poverty. I think there is some desire to do that. I think that people don't like the outcomes of it. I don't think anybody likes gun violence.
Sure.
And a lot of the gun violence that exists in the state of Wisconsin happens in these very specific pockets of Milwaukee. I don't think people like that. What I do see happening though is I see people like picking a lane, for example, and this is why I brought up the meeting that you went to on food scarcity. Is that when you are attacking a problem like food scarcity, there probably isn't one magic solution to solve food scarcity, and the topic of food scarcity is brought up because many of the grocery stores in the inner city or the surrounding areas are closing. And so people can't get to the grocery store. Or let me rephrase it this way. It's much more challenging and the options of places that you can buy groceries are being reduced rather than growing in numbers, right?
Yeah.
And so that makes me think about housing in our neighborhood. Any of the problems that exist, there are always multiple solutions or multiple ways to approach the problem. Yeah. And I would be very careful to not poo-poo somebody's solution and talk about housing, for example. So I think that there aren't enough high-quality rentals in our neighborhood. I think that I could very easily make the case. And if you disagree with me, I'll walk you through the neighborhood. And I'll show you.
and then
you can still disagree if you want to.
And then four people will come up to you and also tell you that there is not enough options. Yeah.
Right. And so, okay, like I know I see that as a need. And so I spend my time to help meet that need. Somebody else could walk through the neighborhood and say there's not enough home ownership in the neighborhood. Yeah. And they will be very diligent and they will spend their time creating more home ownership opportunities. On the surface, those two approaches are opposed to one another. Yeah. I want there to be more high-quality rentals. They don't actually want there to be more, and maybe they do, but their lane is housing. Yeah. And so when I think about, to circle back to John Perkins, for example, if he had a lane that he stuck in for an extended period of time, to the point again where college students from Wisconsin are coming to go see what he's doing and to help out. I think that if you are trying to attack the problem of poverty and the effects and the negative effects of that poverty has on a community, if you are able to get yourself into a lane, We Got This is a great example of that. We Got This does a bunch of different things, but they're really just a few things. And one is to grow food. The other is to teach a kid the advantages of developing a work ethic and the benefits that come from completing a task and getting paid for it.
Yeah. Another lane within We Got This is to provide healthy food for kids.
Sure. Right.
I feel like it's a great opportunity that there's a lot of different lanes that you could be in.
Right. And I think that when I reflect on him and I reflect on some of the other people that I've on a surface level known have done social justice work, many times they have been in a lane for a long time. And their lane is either something that they cared about because they liked it, they were into it, or it was something that became an obvious and apparent need, and they figured out a way to meet that need. And so again, I don't think anyone's figured out how to solve poverty or to get to predictably get people out of poverty. There's no school you go to learn how to get out of poverty.
And to be honest, I was like, I want to solve poverty. I should read some books on it. And I had actually a very hard time even finding books on, like, if you Google how to solve poverty. There's different lanes you can be in, but there's
Yeah.
there's not a full book on it. So
Well, and
Yeah.
you know, I think, you know, if you are even a mildly religious person,
mm-hmm.
I don't know how you go to church or read the Bible and not immediately get the impression that we're supposed to be doing something to help the people within our community,
Mm-hmm.
And a community can mean whatever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
on your block, in your city, in your
Yeah.
state,
Yeah.
in your country,
Mm-hmm.
in the country next to your country,
Yeah.
in the country next to that country, you know, and then you just extrapolate it. And it's like, oh, well, everybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know how you don't read anything in the Christian Bible and have come to any other conclusion that you're supposed to be doing
Mm-hmm.
something,
Yeah. And
whatever
I think,
that is.
and I think I would say that for all religions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just
I mean,
more familiar with that
yeah,
one in particular.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but I would say I don't know how you read any of that and then think like, oh, I don't need to actually care about
Mhm.
this. Like I
Yeah.
feel like it's like you should care about the way you conduct yourself and the way you think
Yeah.
and the way you act towards other people, in
Yeah.
particular the people that don't have what you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I, you know, so I think that is an abundant. I think that thought process exists in abundance.
Yeah.
But I do understand why it gets a little complicated, because if all of us were like, we got to get to Mars, we're not going to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if all of us are like, well, I want there to be, I want people to know how to grow their own food,
Mhm.
for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that would be one way.
Yeah.
You know, very small. Like,
Yeah.
you can't
but,
grow fruit. You're not growing
Yeah.
growing a ton of stuff in December.
Yeah.
You know, and you're not going to eat only the things that you grow if you
Mhm.
live in the city. But that helps, right?
But it's a little bit of margin.
Right. It's a little
Yeah.
bit extra space.
Mhm.
Or if you're like, okay, well, I'm involved in some sort of policy thing, and I can
Yeah.
help make a policy that
Yeah.
does something to make it more advantageous
Mhm.
for a grocery store to
Yeah.
be in a particular space.
Mhm.
Like, we're going to write a law that says if you sell X amount of dollars worth of groceries, you don't have to pay
Mhm.
property taxes. Like,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I don't even know
Yeah.
if that's physically possible,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can start to dream up or imagine what some things might be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the longer you spend attacking an element of a very large societal
Mhm.
problem, I think that you'll find that you'll get closer and closer, or deeper and deeper into the problem, and closer
Yeah.
to helping to provide a solution, even if it's on a small scale.
Yeah.
Because you would never want to forego making a small impact because you're only focused on making a large
Sure.
impact,
Yeah.
right? Because then you
Yeah.
end up with nothing,
Mhm.
right? Like, if
Yeah.
you're always trying
Yeah.
to hit home
Yeah.
runs,
Yeah.
you know, 4 singles is just as good as a home run.
Yes.
So
It is almost baseball season.
it is almost baseball season. I don't know if that's actually true, but so that being said, you know, when I you know, heard that, you know, you had texted me and said that he had passed away, and you know, I was like, yeah, it's sad. But then I thought, you know, it's crazy to me that, you know, I'm 42, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
You know, so a 42-year-old guy had the course of his life
Yes. Changed.
because this guy in Mississippi,
Yep.
you know, was a part of the civil rights movement, and then decided, I'm going to stick through with this.
Yeah.
You know, and he had the wherewithal to pivot.
Yeah.
You know, if he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just doing the same thing that he had done in the 1960s, would
Yeah.
be strange,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
he evolved and found some real tangible ways to impact his community,
Mm-hmm.
and then was able to bring other people into the community
Yeah.
to make an impact inside
Mhm.
of his own community.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what that's a model that can be replicated, you know,
Mhm.
in all sorts of other places. So
Yeah. I feel like it's beautiful, and I feel like I would recommend everyone just look up John Perkins. Him and his wife, so John and
Vera May, right?
Vera May Perkins Foundation. They have a foundation, and they just do a lot of neat things. So yeah, I just recommend looking them up. And I really like that you brought up, you know, that he included other people and brought other people into his vision. And I think that's what a really good leader does. And I think that's a beautiful thing if you can either be part of a group where somebody has that vision and you can follow, or if you have that vision and you can invite other people to do it. Either one is I think they're just as beautiful to be a part of it or to lead that. So yeah, I think yeah. So that's all I got.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
All right. That's all you got?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.